What's up, people? I have a quick book haul for you today. I've been just collecting some books over the past few days. I just started my classes this week, and there are some subjects that I wanted to read up on that's in addition to whatever I have to read for class. So I just went on an Amazon shopping spree. Let's just say that. So this first one is a dud because it's in Spanish, and I don't have time to teach myself Spanish, so I was actually able to return this on Amazon, and they didn't require that I send it back. So I don't know how that works. Like, they didn't get their merchandise back, but they refunded me for it. So it's Lean versus Agile versus Design Thinking by Jeff Goldthef. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Anyway, he is he wrote the original book, Lean UX, and I actually need to go ahead and get that one. But I wanted this one first just to understand, the different theories in UX design and also just in business. So I'm not gonna be able to read this, so I'm gonna find it somewhere else, I guess, and donate it or sell this one. And to accompany the Lean versus Agile versus Design Thinking, I got the Design Thinking Methodology book. Pretty cool concept here that pulls from the arts and humanities to help us solve problems and to connect with people on a more emotional level. This is pretty cool. It has the methodology. The steps are all laid out here. It involves defining the problem, researching and collecting data, interpretation, ideation, prototyping, and then evaluation. And the concept with design thinking is pulling, businesses away from the shallow organizational mindset, and using, the creative spaces of the arts and the humanities to help us think through problems more creatively. And it's also just an experience that connects humans to humans, and you're able to push out your product or your brand, your website, that touches people a little bit more deeply than, the shallow, the surface level stuff. So a pretty cool concept. I'm really interested in learning a little bit more about design thinking. And I need to put my glasses on. I always feel like I can be, I'll be okay without glasses, and no, I need glasses. I need my glasses on. I'm just fumbling over myself tonight. So the next book that I got is HTML and CSS. I have read and have looked at so many books, websites, articles and everything to understand HTML and CSS. I've gone through Codecademy, which is actually really good, and I needed that and understand in order to have a foundation of the language. But this book is the most well-designed, thoughtfully put together, most beautifully written book I've ever read about such a technical topic. When I first started reading this book, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just so interested. It kind of felt like I was reading a fiction book, and I didn't want to close it. I didn't want to put it away. I stayed up until like 2 o'clock in the morning this past Saturday, and just read through it, did some of the activities in here. It's just so smartly put together. First of all, there's more, images than text. There's so much clarity. Actually all of the pages, if there's a lot of text, it looks like this. there aren't long prose that go across the page and it gets kind of boring. So each of, you know, the explanations and everything, oh, it's getting blown out, are in these short little paragraphs that are no longer than about 6 rows, 7 rows long. And they don't stretch across the page. It's so incredibly put together. So it's organized. Okay, so it's organized so nicely. So each section has an introduction, and the introduction page looks like that. And then there is the background of whatever subject that we're learning, and it looks like that. And then there is an example, and the page layout looks that way. And then the reference pages are here. And let's see, it says HTML code is shown in blue and CSS code is shown in pink. Beautiful. And then there are diagrams and infographics here. And then finally, each section has a summary, and it's always on a blue page. So to give you a look at that, so I have started reading. Okay, so we have structure is first, right? Structure is first. And then we go into, a background of structure. So here's a background of structure. That page looks that way. And then there are some examples. So this is showing how the structure of a newspaper can be translated the same way to a structure of that newspaper on a mobile device. And then there is another example of structure. This would be considered a reference. You see here in blue, there's the HTML code for it. And this translates to that screen. And then there's the diagram. This is the most comprehensive visual that I've ever seen of how HTML and CSS is broken down. Well, actually, this is just HTML. Okay, so you have your HTML here, which is this outside border, and then you have the body, and then you have your H1, your paragraph, and then your H2 and your paragraph. It all makes sense when you go into like a text editor, and how can I put it? At the top of the text editor, you have a doc type, and it says HTML. This visualization, for me, it just clicked immediately. I understood it immediately. So you have HTML that wraps around all of the content that you put inside. So this is your page. HTML tells like web searchers that it is an HTML page. I think that's how I interpreted it. And then it has this. So this means P means paragraph. So this is your open tag, and this is your close tag. This is what you use when you have done when you're done writing the content, and all of your content where you have to say goes in between the tags. And then this goes into your attributes. So that is just like the basic breakdown of HTML, CSS. This book is amazing. It is, however, from 2011, and some of the references on here, I went into how to create a web page using my Mac. This is from 2011, so the iOS that they have in here as an example, it's way outdated with the iOS that I have with my Mac. However, HTML and CSS doesn't change. It does. There are other forms of HTML and CSS. There's HTML5 and something like that, and like there's another CSS out there that I'm not really familiar with. Also, you need to know the basics of HTML and CSS in order to move on to the other updates, because I think it kind of writes on top of this. It's not a whole new language. I think that's how that works. But anyway, if you're interested, if you're curious like I am about it, get this book. It's HTML and CSS Design and Build Websites by John Duckett. It's an amazing book. I did way more of an explanation of it than I anticipated. I actually wanted to do an entire video, but I think that I explained it enough. And because I'm a curious creature, I'm a super curious creature, I picked up Blockchain. I actually just got this evening. This is the ultimate guide to understanding blockchain, Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, smart contracts, and the future of money. I took a webinar a little while ago at work about emerging technology and libraries, and there were some really interesting things that the webinar brought out, but this was something that I really held on to, because when I think about blockchain, I think about like Bitcoin, Litecoin, and Ethereum and all of those, and not realizing that blockchain is its own technology that can be used for many things. So one of the examples that I learned in the webinar was using blockchain for like contracts and to replace notary. It's super secure, really cool, and like I'm just learning about it, so I just wanted to know more and just see how it works and what I can do. And with blockchain technology, I don't know, I may not be able to do anything, but at least I'll know about it. All right, and finally, like, this is the holy grail of books, you guys. This book right here is not even finally. Oh, actually, before I do that one, I just wanted to share my new Moleskine journal. This is what I'm using for this school year. It's white, a beautiful journal. I've already started to take some notes. This is the beginnings of a journey map that I'm creating. And then it's lined paper. It's beautiful paper. Moleskine just makes great journals. This is the hardback. Hey, for real. This book is the holy grail of books for me this year, and I have already started it, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I just cannot get enough. I actually can't wait to finish what I'm doing now, and hopefully I'll have some time before I need to go to bed for work in the morning to try and read a few pages. So guys, this book is gorgeous, like just physically beautiful. Look at that. So it's been everywhere. This is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi Adeyemi, and let me tell you, the storyline, her writing is just as beautiful as this cover. This one was just an important read. With the release of Black Panther and A Wrinkle in Time, we're centering Black people in the culture, and because I love fantasy fiction, particularly children's and teen fantasy, I needed to get this book because this centers African culture in science fiction and fantasy, the science fiction and fantasy genre, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Like, it hasn't let me down yet, and I don't think that it will, but I'll just say now that I'm really enjoying this. And if you have read it, or if you're starting to read it, you know, start a conversation down below, and let me know how you like it. What do you think of it? Okay, that is all that I have. I rambled longer than I anticipated. Okay, bye.